So I'm sitting there, barbecue sauce in my titties. Okay. Anyway, guys. Hi. I'm still alive somehow. And if you're asking what I mean by that, I set my alarm for probably 10 o'clock this morning. And I don't really sleep a lot at night. I can't really sleep a lot at night. I don't know why. My brain constantly just says, oh, hey, did you know that penguins have knees but they still waddle? That's literally one of the things that have popped into my head while I'm trying to sleep. Anyways, the reason why the last couple days, my what ifs, I've been yawning a lot. My sleep schedule is a little messed up, and I've been trying to get it back on track, which I've actually been able to do. But since my body basically still keeps me up a lot at night, I have only gotten a total of probably 9 hours altogether of sleep in the past 2 days. But that's because I've been woken up early on my day off to do yard work, and my body decided to wake me up at 8 o'clock this morning. So, now that I have cleared that up, I'm probably going to be posting this and trying to get some sleep. And if I can't, then that means there was going to be another part. Anyways, now, another thing. I am going to be doing the Island event after this because they never really specified in canon when the event happens. They just say it's around the final exams, but before the All for One fight. So for certain what ifs, I might include the All for One event. All for One event. Island event before or after the final exams. Or before or in between. In between or after the final exams and the forest training arc. Before it or after it. So if you guys are new to my channel and are going back over this, I probably will not state this in other videos, so if I do not, I am sorry, but if you guys are long-term subscribers, y'all know how it is. Okay, that was far longer than I thought. Anyways, I don't want to have to waste too much time. Now, let's get into this what if. So, Deku and everyone else in Class 1A have arrived, and Deku would have actually introduced himself to Koda. Now, Koda would have seen a lot of the scars on his arms and a lot of different things. He would have looked at Deku and asked him if he's that kid everyone called the Vigilante. Deku is saying yes, and Koda would actually ask him about that. He would even ask him if he's been in Alderaan before. Deku would just laugh at him, saying that yes, he has. He goes there to race. People know him as the Vigilante in that city a lot, because he actually does race there. Now, he would actually get really excited, saying that he's heard about Alderaan, but he's always told that it's a very dangerous place and never to go there. Deku would tell him that that is true, and the only reason why racing there is legal is because nothing is illegal there. He would then specify that for their races, they have so many things in place to prevent you from death, but that is only because they don't want more missing persons reports in the city than there already is. Since they've implemented those safety procedures, 80% of missing person reports are no longer from the death races. And because of that, they had to have their name changed and everything, and he'd go over it more and more, explaining the payment for the races, along with how you can sell them. And he would say that certain properties are marked off and protected in gang territories throughout the entire city. So basically, if you were to give a gang ammunition or sell it to them, they would put your property and mark it a certain way to where no one needs to intrude on it. Which, since he has such a good understanding with every gang, they essentially mark down an entire block for him that no one's allowed on. Now, after hearing about this, Kodo would be impressed and actually ask more questions. Deku would give as much explanation as he can without being very violent. He would then actually show Kodo the scar, and he would be really excited to see it because it's a really cool scar. Now, it's the one on his back, right in between his shoulder blade. He's saying that Mr. Snipe shot him, but that was whenever he was still a vigilante. Now, for quirk training, since we have the girl from 1B in here, I believe, with the Crown of Thorns, replacing Ayama, along with Big Hand, Kendo, and Shinsho. Deku is, well, one of his main points for training is literally just keep getting angrier. So, Shinsho, to actually improve his quirk, he would just brainwash Deku, saying that he needs to get angrier, and he would always smack him anytime he refused to do what he said. He would get Deku to cluck like a chicken, do the ridiculous things, do handstands, try and do a backflip and fail, along with the fact that Deku's somewhat, well, he's not seeing visions of the successors of One For All, but he's getting to that point where he can feel the power coming from them. Now, Shinsho would always snap him out of it by slapping him before he could actually even realize what's going on. But his perception would be able to give him enough time to at least try and make out their faces. And he can only make out one woman's face, which looks similar to his mother's, just with darker hair and skinnier features. Like, what I mean by that is, you can see her cheekbones protrude out a bit more, her chin looks different, her eye color, her hair color, the way her eyelashes are shaped, or not shaped, her eyebrows are shaped, along with the way her forehead, nose, and the way their ears look and their mouth look. So just like really, really detailed features. Now, because of this, he can't really think about that as he constantly keeps getting bitch slapped by Mr. Brainwash, which would actually bring out his rage mode, and he would be told to go attack the forest as much as possible, which is the equivalent of letting an angry dog off its leash, which Deku would do, and he is told to go a mile in that direction, or 3 miles in that direction, and just blow off as much steam as he can. Now, he would do this, actually, but this is actually the area Dabi lights fire in, that he's nearby. So he's just throwing around 100% at full power, which not only could strain his arms, the strain keeps getting less and less the more he does it. Ugh. That soda's acting a bit funny now. Before anyone asked, I got a snack crate in the mail, and it is a very foreign snack crate. It's from Denmark. And I got a lot of different things along with a soda. I would say the name of it, but I'm pretty sure it might be copyrighted. But it's basically like I cannot say that. It's like a lemon lime soda. I think you guys know the brand, but I don't want to say that in case that word's copyrighted too. Because everything's copyrighted now. Thank you, communist YouTube. Along with putting us in a barrel and shooting us. Now then, because of this, the Pussycats, along with Tiger, they would have actually gone in the direction Deku's in. And the best way to summarize it is, if you're looking at this from the area everyone else is training in, trees are flying everywhere along with what looks like to be a fight between two All Mights. Which means trees are flying through the air, there's shockwaves, there's dirt, there's dust, there's what looks like explosions, but without just like the firepower. And all that is happening, and if you guys wonder why I do that to check my recording. That's all happening, and Deku would then be told that they need to, or they're going to be doing a whole test of fear thing. And while that's going on, Toga has actually been working on her quirk by drinking the blood sample of a lot of different pro heroes. And she would have done Mount Ladies, Midnight, Eraserhead, Aizawa's, along with a couple of the Pussycats quirks. And she's basically just trying to stack on as many quirk effects as possible, which is very, very hard to do for someone who is not a quirklet. Now, it's somewhat like Todoroki's half and half quirk, but that one's more, hey, this is concentrated to this one side, and this one's concentrated to the other side. So you constantly have to switch. Unlike if the quirks were mixed. I just imagine Todoroki with pink hair now. That's weird. Oh, it's so creepy to imagine. Now then. Yay! It's setting in. Okay. Koda, he's actually been staying nearby the camp and not trying to go far away from people. So he would have actually been in the camp for the villain attack. And this is when Remusky would arrive. He's saying that he's here to actually fight them or kidnap two students because their quirks might be useful. Now, they're actually here for the two copy quirk people, Toga and Monoma, who people have said are siblings, but they're both the same age. Which, yeah, I don't think they're siblings. Now, the reason why he's after, or all for one's after their quirks, is because if they were villains, or if he can just combine their quirks, it might create a stronger copy quirk, which might be permanent. But that's what he's thinking. He doesn't think, oh, the effects will just stack on top of each other. Then be longer, but it might be permanent because of the way quirks can mutate with each other. Now, Muscular is actually going after them, and he would have been told that she's a blonde with blue eyes. Now, since she's essentially the only blonde girl in 1A, he would immediately say that that's her over there. He would start walking, and he would immediately be punched in the face by Deku at about 95%. This would send him flying, as he would then say that he didn't expect that, and his face would be revealed. Koda's crying and sobbing as he says that that's the man that killed his parents, and Deku just pops his knuckles, saying that, well, looks like my days as a vigilante have come back. Muscular is asking what he means, and Deku would just explain to him, you know, the reason I started being a vigilante in the first place wasn't to help people, but because I found that beating the shit out of people was oddly therapeutic to me. As he would charge straight at Muscular, and Muscular would use his quirk to just block Deku. Now, Deku just keeps punching and punching and punching away at Muscular, which basically means that he's just throwing 95% straight at his arms, which is not really doing anything, but it's somewhat effective. Because he just keeps punching in the same one spot over and over again. as he would pull a knife and try slicing away at Muscular's arm. As soon as he did so, he would barely get any blood out of his arm, as the blade would immediately just snap. Deku would say that that's pretty stupid, or that doesn't make sense. He doesn't understand it because this was his favorite knife. Muscular is saying that he doesn't care about that, but he'll just take his head instead then. Now, this is whenever Muscular would try throwing a punch at Deku. Deku would have immediately just moved out of the way and actually come up to Muscular's face, trying to stab what's left of the blade into Muscular's eye. Muscular would have somewhat seen him do this, and he would have actually shrunk the muscle on his arm, somewhat making Deku miss, slicing him again into the forehead. Muscular is saying that that's pretty cheeky and that he plays dirty. Deku would say, "What do you mean I played dirty? Fighting isn't about playing fair, it's about winning." Muscular would say that that's pretty sound logic, actually. You know what, I'll agree with you there, kid, but I'm still taking your head as a trophy. Now, okay. After that, this is when Deku, he's still fighting with Muscular, and Muscular, he is still bleeding. Toga would run over, take a dab of the blood, and actually lick it, copying Muscular's quirk, and she would just keep trying to lick as much of it as she can. As people are watching her do this, somewhat creeped out, but they would realize that she just copied his quirk. And she would start fighting she would start fighting with Deku. As that's happening, the forest is barely on fire, which means that that's not a top priority to avoid or contain. And the mustard gas guy, he's still kind of a problem. But the other students, like the girl from 1B with the quirk that allows her to just use vines, let's say she took him down along with the fact that Tokoyami, not Todoroki, I almost said the wrong name, and Shoji, they would have still encountered. Oh wow, I just realized I don't think I've ever covered this. They would still encounter Moonfish, and the way they would take him down would be the exact same canon, just without Deku there. And this is whenever we cut back to Deku and Toga, still fighting with Muscular. They are just throwing punches after punches at him. Muscular is saying that that's pretty impressive that she copied his quirk, but that still is not going to work on him. As he would then just throw a giant punch at him as hard as he can. Deku would have stepped in, actually getting his skull rattled a bit, and he would be sent flying through the building. The only one that was there. 5 minutes beforehand, or 3 seconds earlier, do you guys think we'll be okay? Deku comes flying through the wall and it goes out the other side. Nope. Slowly sips water. I'm sorry. I'm way too tired for this. I'm not actually tired. What the heck? I just worked 8 hours and I've been tired my entire shift. But my brain finally decides, hey, let's wake you up. Jeez. Anyways, I'm going to be trying to continue this. Now, as soon as that would happen, Deku would have actually seen, or he would have gotten up, and he can't see out of his left eye, which confuses him because he doesn't know what's going on. Now then, Muscular would then walk over to Deku holding Toga by her throat, saying that it seems her little copy trick stopped working, and he doesn't seem like he can even fight anymore. Aizawa would try and erase Muscular's quirk, but would immediately be met with a switch pillar to his face from one of the members of the Action Vanguard. saying that they know all about his little trick with his eraser quirk and they're not going to let it happen now. Which would then prompt Deku to release the beast. He would then say to Muscular that he's not done yet as his eyes would start glowing. Muscular is saying that it's very precious, that he's got a second wind, and that they'll be continuing. Or he's got a dying breath. Dick would say no, it's actually not either of those. As he would immediately use 1,000,000% in one of his legs, flying straight at Muscular, and a 1,000,000% in his arm, throwing it straight at Muscular's jaw, essentially shattering it. As Muscular would have let go of Toga in that instant and be sent flying over to, well, let's see. All Might sent the Nomu about, I want to say, half a mile in a cannon. Times that by 100,000, you get 250,000 miles. That does not make sense, because that's essentially just 10 times around the Earth. 9 1/3, I believe, actually, if I'm doing the math correctly in my head. So, let's say he got sent about... He got sent to about... The camp... Was the camp by the coast? Never mind. Let's say he just got sent about like 50, flying 50 miles. And they would then watch as Deku is charging with electricity, screaming, as he would then stop and pass out. Now they would take Deku to Recover Girl, and she would say that these injuries are surprising because she's never seen anything like this. He's essentially broke down the muscles, or broke down a muscle, the same way you would break a bone. Which people are confused by, and she would then explain that whenever he wakes up, she can heal it, but for right now, she can just set it back in place. Which Deku would then spend the next 2 to 3 days in a medically induced coma, healing. As Recovery Girl would just come in every 12 hours, check on his mental state, or check on his vitals, and then actually heal him somewhat. She's healing him slowly over time, so it doesn't all heal at once, somewhat sending his body, or not sending his body in a shock. She's doing it slowly to let his body heal naturally, and then healing the parts that won't heal naturally. Now, because of that, he would actually get a scar, like the one he has on his arm in Canon, except it's actually bigger down his arm, up to where his elbow is, along with the same way it is by the side of his leg. Except this one would actually wrap around the entire backside of his leg. So like the entire, not the entire hamstring, but like probably over half the hamstring would be covered in a scar. Deku would then finally wake up, as he would be met with Toga's smiling face, actually just hugging him and cheering that he's awake, and she'd just be kissing him over and over again. He would be confused by this, but he would be way too tired to resist. There's a joke to be made here. It's too easy. Now, I am probably cutting that out, but I'm too tired to care. You know what? I'm leaving that in for community's sake. I'm leaving that in, along with this part. Oh wow, that's far too long. Yeah, actually I was planning on wrapping up right now anyways. Okay. All Might would then walk in trying to check on Midoriya, saying that he's surprised Midoriya was able to do that. And he's asking Midoriya how he feels right now. He would then promptly curse 38 times in one sentence, like a super Aussie. Which people have asked if Super Deku or Super Aussie Deku is getting an Australian accent in the first part. Super Mad Max Aussie Deku was actually, I think, one of the comments I saw in the first part. which I found hilarious. Now, because of that, he's asking Midoriya questions, and Midoriya is giving him answers. He's then saying that he hopes he's actually up to it because in the next few days they are going to be taking a trip to Island. Now I'm going to be covering that in the next part, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Catch you guys later, because I actually plan on doing something a little bit different.